The Catholic Church is once again at the center of a heated debate about LGBTQ+ inclusion. Last week, Cardinal Víctor Manuel Fernández, the Vatican's top doctrine official, made a statement that has both supporters and critics talking. He said that same-sex blessings will remain under Pope Leo XIV. But what does this really mean, and why is it so controversial? Today, we're diving deep into this developing story that's dividing Catholics worldwide. We'll explore the context behind Fiducia Supplicans, the document that started it all, examine the global Catholic response, and analyze what this means for the future of LGBTQ+ Catholics under the new Pope. Stick around, because we'll also discuss why this seemingly small statement carries enormous weight for millions of Catholics, and what it reveals about the ongoing theological and cultural battles within the Church.
To understand the current controversy, we need to go back to December 2023, when Pope Francis approved a groundbreaking document called Fiducia Supplicans on the pastoral meaning of blessings. This 5,000-word document, signed by Cardinal Fernández himself, opened the door for Catholic priests to bless couples in irregular situations, including same-sex relationships. Now, here's where it gets nuanced. The document makes a crucial distinction between two types of blessings: formal liturgical blessings, like those used in wedding ceremonies, and spontaneous pastoral blessings. The Vatican was very clear that these same-sex blessings would fall into the second category. The document states that blessings may be given to those who recognize themselves to be destitute and in need of help, and who seek to have all that is true, good, and humanly valid in their lives and relationships be enriched, healed, and elevated by the presence of the Holy Spirit. However, it stressed that such blessings are in no way comparable to marriage.
What made this even more dramatic was how it was released, without warning, without a press conference, catching many bishops and Catholics completely off guard. This would prove to be a significant tactical error that contributed to the backlash. The response was swift and fierce, particularly from African bishops. Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo Basungu, who leads the Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar, became the face of the opposition. He wrote a letter stating that African bishops believed these blessings cannot be carried out in Africa without exposing themselves to scandals. Ambongo argued that blessing same-sex couples would cause confusion and contradict the cultural ethos of African communities. Pope Francis himself later acknowledged this, describing the African Church as a separate case, noting that for Africans, homosexuality is something ugly from a cultural point of view.
But it wasn't just Africa. Bishops across Eastern Europe also sought exemptions. Some prelates went as far as calling the document heretical. The Vatican found itself in damage control mode, issuing multiple clarifications. The most significant clarification came from Pope Francis himself, who emphasized that the blessings were for the persons, not the union. This seemed to walk back some of the document's initial impact, but it also revealed the confusion and division within the church hierarchy. Fast forward to July 3, 2025. Cardinal Fernández was leaving the Vatican press office when Italian reporter Franca Giansoldati asked him a simple question. Would Pope Leo XIV shelve the Fiducia Supplicans document? His response was immediate and clear. I really don't think so. The declaration will remain. What makes this particularly interesting is that Fernández had met privately with Pope Leo earlier that same day. This wasn't a formal Vatican statement, but it was the clearest indication yet of the new Pope's likely approach to this contentious issue.
Earlier signals had been more ambiguous. Cardinal John Claude Hollerich had suggested in May that Pope Leo might reinterpret the document rather than abolish it, saying that Leo believes the Church is open to all, echoing Francis's motto of everyone, everyone, everyone. For LGBTQ+ Catholics, this statement provided a measure of relief. As Michael O'Loughlin from Outreach Faith noted, there's been tremendous uncertainty about where they stand under the new Pope. Leo's 2012 comments were hostile toward LGBTQ+ people, though his 2023 statements seemed more welcoming. This controversy reveals a fundamental tension in Catholic theology between pastoral care and doctrinal purity. Supporters of fiducia supplicans argue that it represents authentic pastoral care, meeting people where they are, acknowledging their humanity, and offering God's blessing on their lives. Critics argue that this creates dangerous ambiguity. If the Church teaches that same-sex relationships are objectively disordered, how can it simultaneously bless them? They worry this sends mixed messages and undermines clear moral teaching.
The African bishop's response also raises complex questions about cultural relativism in Catholic teaching. Can the same doctrine be applied differently across cultures? Cardinal Mbongo's recent comments to EWTN suggest that what's considered a pastoral priority in Europe isn't necessarily one in Africa. Some theologians argue this represents legitimate doctrinal development, the Church's understanding evolving while maintaining core principles. Others see it as dangerous innovation that threatens fundamental teachings about marriage and sexuality. Pope Leo XIV remains something of an enigma on LGBTQ+ issues. Unlike his predecessor Francis, who was known for his pastoral approach and inclusive rhetoric, Leo has been much more circumspect in his public statements. His 2012 comments were clearly opposed to LGBTQ+ rights, but his 2023 statements suggested a more nuanced view. His May 2025 comments about families being based on the stable union between a man and a woman worried some LGBTQ+ Catholics, but these comments align with traditional Catholic teaching.
Cardinal Fernández's statement suggests continuity with Francis's approach, but continuity doesn't mean stagnation. Leo could maintain the document while interpreting it differently or adding new restrictions. For LGBTQ+ Catholics, this uncertainty is particularly challenging. As O'Loughlin noted, many had hoped Francis would have gone further in concretizing his welcoming spirit with more substantial policy changes around employment, sacraments, or more robust defense of same-sex blessings. This controversy highlights the challenge of maintaining church unity across vastly different cultural contexts. What works in Germany or the United States may not work in Nigeria or the Philippines. The African bishop's successful resistance to implementing fiducia supplicans also raises questions about papal authority versus local episcopal decision-making. Can bishops simply refuse to implement Vatican directives? Cardinal Mbongo, who was considered papabile, papal material in the conclave that elected Leo, represents a significant voice in global Catholicism. his continued opposition suggests this debate is far from over. There's also a generational element to consider. Younger Catholics, particularly in the West, are generally more accepting of LGBTQ inclusion, while older Catholics, and those in the global South, tend to be more traditional.
So what does Cardinal Fernandez's statement really mean? It suggests that Pope Leo XIV is unlikely to completely reverse his predecessor's approach to LGBTQ+ inclusion, but it doesn't guarantee how that approach will be implemented or interpreted. The fundamental tension remains. How does the Catholic Church balance pastoral care with doctrinal clarity? How does it maintain unity while acknowledging cultural differences? These questions don't have easy answers. What's clear is that this conversation is far from over. For LGBTQ+ Catholics and their allies, vigilance and advocacy remain essential. For traditional Catholics, the need to articulate their concerns respectfully and theologically continues. Ultimately, this controversy reflects the broader challenge facing the Catholic Church in the 21st century: how to remain faithful to its core teachings while responding to the pastoral needs of all its members. Cardinal Fernandez's statement may have provided some clarity, but it's also opened new questions that will shape Catholic discourse for years to come. What do you think? Should the Church continue to allow these blessings, or does this create too much confusion? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more coverage of Vatican developments.